Welcome to 49ers After Dark. I'm Grant Cohn. That's Jessie Naylor. The title of the show is Jed York flirting with Jim Harbaugh? This might seem out of pocket or out of left field, but if you don't know, Jim Harbaugh is going to be at the game on Sunday. Kind of a big game. Niners are underdogs, and Jim Harbaugh and his 2012 team is going to be there. I'm surprised considering all the bad blood that there used to be between him and Jed York. This feels like an olive branch. It's been 10 years, and I think it's very interesting, especially the timing, although I don't think it's something the Niners planned. But what do you make of this reunion, and is Jed York flirting with Jim Harbaugh?
I don't know necessarily if he's flirting with Harbaugh, but it definitely seems like he's really open to mending those fences. I think when he looks back at that time, things change. You get older, you mature, you reflect on things. And I've got to imagine after Balky left, that in doing some reflection, he realized, I let go of the wrong guy. I just got rid of the wrong guy here. I should have kept Harbaugh. There was no reason for it. We had these down years that absolutely could have been avoided. And, you know, now they've got a group of guys in Lynch and Shanahan that they believe in and have done a good job. But Harbaugh was doing some really amazing things. And so I think for him, this is his way of kind of righting that wrong and extending that olive branch. I don't think he's flirting, although it is weird timing. I'll say that. It is definitely weird timing at the very least.
I mean, I can't help but think that Jim Harbaugh is going to get just a standing ovation. I can't imagine. It's going to be the loudest cheer we've heard in a very long time. He's going to be the king of Levi Stadium. Meanwhile, Kyle could get booed if they lose. I'm not saying they're going to lose. They could definitely win this game. But if they lose, Kyle could get booed at home while Jim Harbaugh is getting cheered. I put out a poll today saying, who would you rather have coach the 49ers, Shanahan and Ryans or Harbaugh and Fangio? Who's available? It was close, but most people said Harbaugh and Fangio. And look, if the Niners don't win the Super Bowl, if this season comes up short, and Jed York is feeling like he wants to replace Kyle Shanahan, that's tough. Because you can't go back to Chip Kelly and Jim Tom Sula. That's true. And maybe people would feel a little uncomfortable bringing someone unproven. But if he were to bring back Jim Harbaugh and Vic Fangio, fans wouldn't be mad. Media wouldn't criticize him. In fact, he'd be a hero. I could see it from his perspective. Could you see it from Harbaugh's? I mean, it would be kind of interesting. Let me make the case real quick. They ran him off, but for them to come back to him 10 years later and be like, we were wrong. We need you. I mean, couldn't he be like, okay, if you put it like that and you give me $15 million a year, let's talk. I don't know.
I won't say never, but I think the likelihood of that is so small. Harbaugh says it's all good, but Harbaugh's also the type that would be, you know what, I'm going to wait for that position in Arizona to open up with that young quarterback that I know is already legit, and I'm gonna go rip your heart out twice a year just to show you that you really screwed it up, and I want you to do it with the coach that you have now. He's that type of guy, I feel like.
Do you think Harbaugh could win a Super Bowl with this roster?
Ooh. I don't know, because I don't know if this roster, this current
He's
roster,
never won.
right, and that's just it. I also don't know if this roster is tailor-made for him either. That defense, the one thing about that defense, Grant, is it was extremely tough. Now, this defense is good. It's athletic, but that defense had some hitters on it. And I felt like that team, that swagger that team had really fit his personality. I don't think this team fits his personality. I think this team fits Kyle's personality. And I think those are psychological things that are overlooked a little bit. And to your point, it's not like Harbaugh won a Super Bowl. It's not like Harbaugh left here winning multiple rings.
Hasn't won in Michigan. Hasn't won a national title.
Right.
Frankly,
he always does a
I
good
would
job.
say I wouldn't want Harbaugh back. He might be a better coach than Kyle, but if the Niners are going to move on from Shanahan, the guy I'm interested in, and it's early. The guy's only been like an offensive coordinator for 6 weeks, but the guy I'm most interested in is Ken Dorsey. I mean, he has developed Everyone wants Trey Lance to be the next Josh Allen. Well, Ken Dorsey developed Josh Allen, and he developed Cam Newton into an MVP player. Cam Newton was good before Ken Dorsey got there, but Ken Dorsey made him an MVP player. And he's now making Josh Allen an MVP player. And he took the offense that Brian Daboll made and made it better. And if Brian Daboll's a good coach, well, he's part of the Brian Daboll tree. It kind of feels like if Daboll is Mike Holmgren, Ken Dorsey could be the Andy Reid. I'm just saying. The thing about hiring an offensive coach, I think where the Niners may have erred with Kyle Shanahan, you're not hiring a system. Systems come and go. They're fads. They get figured out. You want a guy who can identify the right quarterback and develop him. End of story. Bill Walsh did that, and he did it before he got to the 49ers. He did it. He made Dan Fouts a better quarterback, and Kenny Anderson, whoever it was in Cincinnati, he did it multiple times. What you want is the guy who can develop the quarterback. That's what Andy Reid does. He was around Brett Favre. He did it with Donovan McNabb. He did it with Patrick Mahomes. And you have Trey Lance. And either you trust Kyle Shanahan to develop Trey Lance, or you find someone else who can do it. That's why I'm a little hesitant of just saying hand the team over to D'Amico.
I have another name to throw out that a lot of people aren't thinking about. My boy Marco actually put me onto this, and I love the idea because I think his timeline might fit better with the 49ers, assuming that they move on from Kyle. In my opinion, they're not moving on from Kyle this year. They're just not. If they do it, they're going to do it after next year. This person, it was also a former quarterback. He actually was the offensive quality control coach for the Kansas City Chiefs in 2017 when they drafted Mahomes. Then was his quarterback coach in 2018 and 19 and 20 and 21. And now is the offensive coordinator for the Giants. That's Mike Kafka.
He's a good name too. That's it. Yeah, there's so many options. So many options, which is why I feel like Kyle Shanahan better get his stuff together.
There are options.
Kalba says, let's be honest, what we loved about both Harbaugh and Shanny is that they have great defenses. That is true. That's 100% true.
The difference, though, is that Harbaugh was a CEO. He wasn't a play caller. He
That's
was
true.
the CEO of the team. So, although Harbaugh was a quarterback, his offense wasn't the most explosive or what have you. It did put up points, but wasn't the most explosive at times. Shanahan is an offensive guru. That's why he was hired, and he does call the plays for the offense. So it's a little bit different, in my opinion.
Okay, I got a bonus topic. Jesse doesn't know about this, but since we're talking about coaches, the thing about Kyle Shanahan is he's a scheme coach, and for the last 5, 6, 7 years, his scheme has been pretty much the most lauded scheme in the NFL. Him and McVay. And they've populated the entire league. And they sort of have different gimmicks. McVay was all about 3 wide receiver offenses with the jet sweep. It was a one-back running game, and he was like the most successful 3 wide receiver one-back running game ever because of that jet sweep thing. And he sort of tricked defenses for a while because he was going against nickel defenses that are more prepared to stop the pass. And once people figured out, like, hey, man, he's just running on you, they stopped, honoring that 3 wide receiver jet sweep stuff and he hasn't had a run game in years. Kyle's been different. Kyle is more of a 2-back offense, but his whole thing is pre-snap motion. Most of the league does it like half the time. He does it 90% of the time. And so I had his offense isn't working this year. Why? I had a coach call me this week, and he was started asking me like rhetorical questions. He was like, okay, what does almost every Kyle Shanahan play start with? I'm like, motion. He was like, right, that's right. And why does he do this? I'm like, well, he's trying to get the defense to have a communication lapse. Correct. Right? Because if there's 65 plays in a game, you do it 55 times. That's 55 opportunities for one player on one of 11 players to mess it up. And when they do, that's when you get those long runs. And when the Niners get long runs, they win. So he's saying his theory was, it seems like defenses have figured out that it's better to just line up and play than to try to adjust with the 49ers pre-snap. Because you can't be perfect with that communication stuff. And frankly, Kyle wants you to try to adjust and play that game with him. Just freaking line up and play and live with the consequences. And so this year, when the Niners use motion, they're averaging 5.8 yards per play. And when they don't use motion, they're averaging 5.53. So it's pretty similar. Last year when they used motion, they got 6.2 yards per play. When they went to the Super Bowl, they got 6.2 yards per play with motion. It was their cheat code. Now, I mean, it's just not giving them the same benefits that it did in the past. And now Kyle needs to be innovative. That's what's going on right now.
Yeah, I think the problem with Kyle's scheme is that he's unwilling to deviate from Kyle's scheme.
Right.
And that includes players.
Right.
When you look at the 49ers, one of the biggest issues I have, or I guess suggestions that I would have if I was running things or in the building, would be to try something new.
Yeah.
You have two young running backs on this team that are explosive or have showed to be explosive. One of them, you went out on a limb and picked very high in the 3rd round after you had just done that the year prior. Yet you are so stuck on these veterans getting snaps. Why is that? What's the worst that can happen? Grant, if they play those other running backs, the worst that can happen is they're unexplosive and they have a fumbling issue. Well,
Yeah.
that's exactly the problem you have now. So the worst that can happen is they are exactly as bad as the players you have currently playing. So why aren't you willing to deviate, even if they don't know your system the best?
Because he's not flexible. Again, let's stick with Kyle Shanahan's scheme. When you think of Kyle Shanahan's scheme, is the quarterback in the shotgun or under center?
Well, lately it's been more shotgun.
Traditionally.
Yeah.
Traditionally.
Under center.
It's all about under center so you can get the play action, right? Let me give you some splits this year, all right? This year, when the 49ers are under center, they're averaging 4.3 yards per play, 3.8 yards per carry, and their completion percentage is 53. When they're in the gun, they're averaging 6.7 yards per play and 5.7 yards per carry, and they're completing 62% of their passes. That is a ridiculous split. Like, his scheme is not working. But when they get in the gun and let Jimmy do his thing, all of a sudden, that's crazy to me. Kyle, let it go. It's not working anymore. And what happened was it week 3 when Jimmy said your plays suck, man? Well, this year they seem to. I'm on Jimmy's side a little bit, man. I'm just saying.
I also think what I think kind of plays into that a little bit as well is that when you go in motion, it's to throw the defense off, but it's also to have them give you a tell so that your quarterback knows what's coming ahead of time. That's the hope. Are we in man or are we in zone? Jimmy playing in shotgun helps him read those things so he's not up under the center figuring things out.
They're saying your voice is too low. Can you turn up your gain a little bit?
I can, yeah.
Sorry. This is we're trying to get
is it better?
I think that's better.
Okay.
I think that's better.
It's a new mic, so
Yeah.
I can mess with the gain and do whatever I got to do. You guys let me know what you guys are seeing or hearing.
Yeah, let me know. Let us know if we're on the same thing. Jesse's volume is too low or Grant's is too high.
Okay. Where's my snare? Somebody said. Somebody let me know in the chat if we're better.
I think that's better. All right. Let's talk about the 49ers why. And I don't know where you're going with this one, so break it down.
Okay, let me pull it up. Sorry, I got distracted.
They say it's still too low. Why don't you crank that Soldier Boy like 8 notches?
Okay, how about now? Is that better?
That's a lot better, yeah.
Okay. All right. We'll mess with it. You guys keep telling me how it sounds and we'll go from there.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm into psychology, right?
Yeah.
And I was looking at an article from 2019 when the 49ers were, what are people saying? Oh, perfect. Okay, we're good.
Yeah.
All right. So I was looking at an article from 2019 when the 49ers made a Super Bowl. And I found something really interesting. John Lynch, when he first came, had taken basically a business course at Stanford. Mm-hmm. And he used some of those things from that course when implementing his front office with the 49ers. And one of the things that he felt was very important that he learned from that course is that you have to have a mission statement. Mm-hmm. And this is a mission statement that basically you come up with as a front office and it trickles down through the team. So I'm going to read the mission statement to you and what the pillars are to that. It's short. And then we're going to talk through this for a minute. So Here's what the mission statement was that him and Shanahan came up with. Our nucleus of dedicated players will reestablish the 49er way and lead our organization back to the top of the NFL. These players will represent our core values and beliefs in both their talent and their spirit. It goes on to say that Lynch and Shanahan agreed that the players they drafted would have to exhibit both talent and spirit, which further defined in a short list of bullet points under the vision. For example, they looked for players who showed contagious competitiveness and mental toughness, as well as willingness to protect the team. Okay, so the first question that came to my mind was, how does this play into the locker room? And I ask that because the 49ers are currently losing. And there have been a lot of reports of rifts and things that are out there where some of the teammates wanted Jimmy, some of the players wanted Lance, and so forth. But I found this interesting, and you quoted this today, and Kittle did say this on Sunday after the game. He said, "We have a standard that we play at. We play at a very high level, a lot of energy, 100% effort on every play. And I don't know if we gave that today at every position." That, to me, is a leader in the locker room echoing exactly what that mission statement is for the team. And so that, to me, was encouraging because I feel like we're seeing early glimpses, at least at 3-3, that this locker room has not at all been lost by Kyle Shanahan. I think those things are very important. What do you think about that?
Interesting. That's how you interpret George Kittle's statement saying that the team didn't play hard enough and didn't live up to his standards, that Kyle hasn't lost. I actually interpret it 100% opposite.
Okay.
The fact that George Kittle would come out and say, we didn't play hard enough, that's a condemnation of the coach. Who's in charge of that? The coach.
Yes.
What he essentially said is our head coach didn't get us up to play this game. Or he didn't say our head coach didn't get us up. We weren't up to play this game. I was, but a lot of the young guys weren't. Well, he's not explicitly blaming Kyle, but anyone can figure out that that's Kyle's responsibility. And he took them to West Virginia, and he thought that was going to be the best course of action to get them ready to play very hard against Atlanta. But for whatever reason, George Kittle felt they didn't play hard enough. And that's why the next day, when on the conference call, when someone asked Kyle, "Hey, what'd you think of what George said about the team not playing hard enough?" He was like, respectfully, I disagree with that. Because if he were to agree with that, he'd be opening himself up to, well, how come your team didn't play hard enough? Isn't that your job? So to me, that's a shot at the coach. And I wasn't surprised that Kyle Shanahan respectfully disagreed with him.
Well, I'm going to say this. The reason that this is the reason I'm taking it opposite, is what he's saying from the expectations of him as a player and a leader in that locker room falls in line with exactly what Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch expect from this organization. That's the reason that they drafted every player on this team, according to what they're laying out. So for him to say that tells me he knows what the expectation is, which is great, and he's holding people accountable. I also am not surprised that Kyle said, well, I disagree with that. I think good coaches don't air players out in the public, and that's something that I've had issues with Kyle in the past. The fact that he didn't air people out in the public, I think is signs of growth, in my opinion.
Fair. I guess the only reason I said this is what Kittle essentially said was we were flat. It was a trap game. We were flat. We didn't give it our full effort. I remember 3 years ago when they lost to Atlanta at home. After the game, Nick Bosa said we were flat. He said those words. And then we asked Kyle Shanahan about it, and he was like, I didn't see that. A head coach will never admit to his team being flat because that is a self-condemnation. A coach would rather plead the fifth than say my team was flat that day. Because if there's one job you have as a head coach is to make sure that doesn't happen. So that's all I'm saying. And we don't know. We don't know one way or another because we're not in that locker room. But it's funny how we can take the same thing and interpret it opposite ways.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what's great is that I think a lot of people would interpret this the opposite way. Okay, so the follow-up question I have for you is, they said that they want to restore the franchise to the 49er way. How do you interpret that?
That was coming off the heels of of the Harbaugh Balky stuff, and which is funny. This 2012 reunion, Ray McDonald's going to be there, Alden Smith's going to be there. Maybe it's like, whoa, time has passed. It's been 10 years, but those guys were like notorious. I mean, they did stuff that if they did that today, they would be canceled. So I think Jed wanted to get rid of that culture and have, it used to be winning with class. I think he wanted that. And I think that Kyle and John were playing into that. We're not going to draft people we're not going to sign people who are going to be, assaulting their teammates. Remember when Ahmad Brooks hit Lamar Divins with a bottle?
Yeah.
Because Lamar Divins wouldn't give him his keys because he felt Ahmad, allegedly was too drunk to drive. I don't remember.
Too intoxicated? Yes,
allegedly. Anyway, they're coming back.
That's interesting because when I interpret the 49er way, I interpret it as winning, getting back to being the model franchise in the NFL.
Oh, winning. Yeah, good call. There's that too.
So either way. So I guess my question, regardless of how you interpret it, do you feel like they've delivered on what they set out to do, which is restoring the 49er way?
Not until you get that ring, baby. Sorry. And you know what? Neither did Harbaugh. Neither did Mariucci. None of them. Until you win that ring. And I think that's why Kyle's been given so much rope locally, is because his dad was the offensive coordinator for the team that won the last Super Bowl with the 49ers. I mean, that's 25, 27 years ago. Those are positive memories. And his dad was part of that. Kyle wasn't. Well, he was. He was a ball boy. I take it back. Ball boy in that team. So,
okay.
I'm just saying.
I agree that they have not restored the 49er way, but I don't necessarily associate it with championships because championships are hard to win. I don't care who you are. And we talked about Harbaugh. He did a fantastic job, Grant, but he didn't deliver a championship either.
That's true.
Yes, you ultimately do need to deliver a championship. I have no doubt about that. You can't stick around forever if you're not doing that. But if they can put together some good seasons and make deep runs, I think Harbaugh did restore the 49er way, in my opinion, because every season as a fan, I will tell you this, I was confident that team was going to steamroll and make it to the playoffs and make a deep playoff run. I'm not confident in this regime right now to do that in back-to-back seasons because I haven't seen it.
Nah, to me, the 49er way in the 80s and 90s was when you got to the Super Bowl, you won it. End of story, 5-0. Then Harbaugh got there, and they took on a huge deficit to start the game, had to claw their way back, and they got down to the 7-yard line and were unprepared. And then the Niners, with Kyle, they had a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter and blew it. That's not the Niner way. But maybe my definition of the Niner way is too lofty. But that's just embarrassing.
Totally. But I do agree with you that they haven't done it.
That's like what the Bengals do in the Super Bowl. Yeah, that's the Bengal way. Well, we were in the Super Bowl and we had a chance, but now they're champions. But we were in the game, and it's a very painful memory. That's the Bengal way. I don't know.
I feel
one
it.
day.
Okay. So we both agree they haven't restored the 49er way, but for different reasons. All right, go ahead and go to the next one. I have another question for you, and I think that we can go off of this, but go ahead. Read some super chats.
All right, California Bear says, been a wild week roasting Kyle, ready for Sunday. And then he says, are you going to talk about Harbaugh in the reunion? We've been talking about it. Did you miss it? So we let off.
Well, he might have because it sounds like my mic was pretty low.
Sorry about that. Heard they're honoring the 2012 team on Sunday. Might explain why Harbaugh's in town. Yep, that's the reason. Hey, Dad, thank you very much. That was very nice of him. He's coming over for dinner tonight.
What's up, Pops?
What's up, Pops? All right, let's talk about Deebo Samuel's.
Hold on,
Downs.
I got one more.
Oh, okay. All right.
I got one more. Just one more thing. Okay, so I think the way that Harbaugh ran things versus the way that Shanahan runs things is hurting Shanahan in the eyes of fans. And here's what I mean. You remember the little mantra, "Who's got it better than us? Nobody." Everybody loved that. But when he said, "Who's got it better than us?" I think fans gravitated to that, and they said, "Well, us, that's us too. Like, we're the
Yeah.
fan. Yeah, we're a part of
Yeah.
this. Nobody's got it better than us." And I think Harbaugh did a great job of making everybody feel included in that. And so I think that there's some nostalgia towards Harbaugh, especially when Shanahan isn't winning. And when I go back to their mission statement and what they made, and by the way, this hangs above their locker room, protect the team. That tells me that's everybody in that locker room. That's everybody in the organization. We protect our own at all costs, but that doesn't include you, the fan. So Shanahan, in my opinion, where he's gone wrong a little bit is he hasn't included the fans in what they're doing the way that Harbaugh did. And I think that's why there's a lot of nostalgia towards Harbaugh and not as much love towards Shanahan when things aren't going well. That's my personal opinion.
Here's the biggest reason that why Shanahan's stock is down, though. It's because he's outgaining opponents by 1.5 yards per play. And he's 3-3. Like, Harbaugh didn't do this stuff. Harbaugh won most of the time. Now, he didn't win the Super Bowl, but he didn't beat himself. Like 3 turnovers last week and you lost to Atlanta. Harbaugh didn't do stuff like that. They have a top 10 offense and a top 10 defense in terms of yards per play allowed and gained. And they're 3-3. They can't beat anyone other than Carolina outside the division. Like, it's very frustrating. Very frustrating to the point where he looks amateurish at times. I think that's why people are remembering Harbaugh as the good old days and kind of like forgetting the reasons why he wasn't perfect either. But Kyle does some stuff where it's like, man, you don't know how to win. You don't know how to win consistently. Harbaugh knew how to win consistently. Kyle is just as likely to beat himself that week as he is to beat the opponent. And it's like, which Kyle's going to show up? He absolutely might beat the Chiefs this week and then turn around and lose to McVay the next week. I mean, who the hell? We don't know. It's crazy.
It's inconsistent.
It's inconsistent.
You know what's funny is a lot of people, it seems like people choose sides on this, which I understand. That's the way it always ends up working out. We can't love both. We gotta pick which one we love here. But a lot of people talk about how it's unfair to compare them because Shanahan, his first 2 years was rebuilding the team. If you remove those first 2 years, his winning percentage is still 7% less than Harbaugh's. Mm-hmm. And if you take his 2 best seasons, so his only winning seasons he's had since he's been here, his winning percentage is exactly what Harbaugh's was across that 4-year stretch, including an 8-8 season. Harbaugh did a really, really good job. And I'm not saying Shanahan's doing horrible, but people forget, I think, how good Harbaugh really did with this team.
Yeah. Jamar says he's a new member. Oh, thank you very much. The Goose says, what's worse, Harbaugh losing the Super Bowl to Joe Flacco or Shanahan losing a 10-point lead to Mahomes?
10-point lead, in my opinion.
I mean, they're both bad. A loss is a loss. End of story.
Yeah,
a win's a win, a loss is a loss.
But I'm just going off my personal feeling as a fan. I remember leaving that Ravens game. It was like, yeah, they lost, but they were coming back. They almost had it at the very end. Versus you had the lead against Kansas City. For 3 quarters, you thought that the 49ers were going to be Super Bowl champions, and then you got your heart ripped out at the end. That feeling was much worse to me.
Yeah, I just felt like that Harbaugh, they were totally unprepared. I think they had a penalty on their first play. They fell behind. And the only reason they got back in the game was because there was a power outage, and they got like a half hour to get their shit together. That was embarrassing, too. And the way they finished up, like it was like the original Marshall. Like, you can't give the ball to Frank Gore one time. You're just going to throw the same pass over and over and over.
Yeah,
Kyle gets
that
a
was
passer.
Also really weird. What a weird Super Bowl to play your brother, and I don't know. That was kind of a bizarre Super Bowl.
Official BNA Music 88 says Kyle gets a pass for being a Super Bowl winning ball boy. Thank you. I teed it up. You knocked it out of the park. All right, we got to move on. We're running out of time. Deebo Samuel is having a down season. Now, he had some big plays, that catch and run against the Rams. He's still averaging 10 yards after the catch per reception, which is pretty much his career average. He's still doing that. But the problem is getting him the ball. He's only catching 57% of his targets this year. That's because he has 7 drops in 6 games. That's 15% of his targets. That's disgusting. That's the worst of his career. And then as a running back, he's not a threat anymore. He was a threat with Lance, but ever since I mean, in the last 7 games with Jimmy, he's averaging 3.2 yards per carry. So he's not the wide back anymore. And as a wide receiver, I mean, just getting him the ball is an adventure. Once you get him the ball, he's great. But that's not what they're paying for. That feels like more like a regression than an improvement.
Yeah, I personally don't put it on Debo, though, because he's kind of a gadget guy in the sense that he's not a traditional wide receiver. He does so many things good, and there is a little bit of scheming that has to go into getting him open, and it goes back to Kyle Shanahan putting guys in the best place to be successful. The league has figured out when Debo's in the backfield, he's running the ball most of the time. The few times that they throw in a wrinkle grant where they have him on a Texas route or they fake the handoff to him, that's when they start to get teams. Teams are like, oh, I wasn't ready for that. But then you go right back to just handing it off to Debo when he's in the backfield. So instead of adding wrinkles and changing things up and being progressive, they just say, okay, well, we'll just stop putting him in the backfield and we'll go back to making him a wide receiver, which, okay, I would say Debo's worst attribute is before the catch. He's good at the catch point as far as being aggressive. He does have drops. There's that, but he's not going to get the most open from his route running. And then after the catch is where he becomes unstoppable, the best in the league. So, but you've got to figure out how to get him the ball. You have to get him the ball so that third step activates. And if you're not scheming him open, then he's not going to be one of those guys that just routes you up and is always open. It's just not the case with Debo. So, yeah, Debo may have regressed, but I don't think he's regressed as a player. They just have regressed in how to use him dynamically.
I don't know, man. If he's not going to give you anything as a wide back anymore, if that, I mean, I'm sure he would if Trey Lance were the quarterback. But with Jimmy, I mean, at least this year, if he's not going to give you anything as a running back and he's going to drop 15% of his targets, like that is not what you're paying for. That is not what you signed up for at all. So I would like to say, yeah, I mean, they could use him better, but Debo, like, catch the ball. Catch the ball? I mean, when you're 26, I mean, do you remember there was that clip that came out of him and Ronnie 2K talking about how much he plays 2K? And it starts off when Debo has 2K in his hand. And he throws it up in the air and drops it. And he goes, oh, I actually have good. I swear to God, he drops 2K. Catch the ball. Catch it. Work on catching 2K. That's just a bad look, man. And it's like, yeah, you missed the offseason. You weren't there. You're a little rusty. All right, man. Well, it can only go up from here. Be better. You're still a great player, but like this is sloppy stuff, man. You dropped 2K. And you're like, he said, no, I had great hands. No, you don't. You don't have great hands. We saw that. People don't forget.
I feel like he has great hands when the catches are difficult, when he's forced to concentrate. If he isn't forced to concentrate and it's laid right in his chest, that's when he starts looking around and he has just a routine drop. But if you throw it high, oh, he's coming down with the rock every single time. Maybe that's the trick. Jimmy, just throw the ball high every time. He'll be straight.
That's why I'm being tough on Debo, because it's not like I'm asking him to do something he can't do. He makes extremely difficult catches. It's like, dude, like focus, man. Seven drops in 6 games? That's bad by your standards. I'm trying to look up like drop percentage. It's got to be by number 1 in the league by far. By far, I would imagine, but I don't know.
What did he have last year? Was it 11 drops?
Let me tell you what it was last year. He had 10 drops in 16 games, and his drop percentage was 8.3. And people were making a big deal about it. Now he's got 7 drops in 6 games, and his drop percentage is 14.9. Debo, you can do so much better than that. And the Niners can help him out. But, like, that's a bad look. And coupled with not being able to run the ball anymore is like, man, that's why he's not taking over games as – last year he took over every game down the stretch. You couldn't stop him. It's like, oh, you're going to double cover him? Oh, now he's running back. Now it's like, well, running back doesn't work, and he's going to drop the ball. Like, I don't know, man. I don't know. This is a problem. But here's the thing. Here's the upside, the silver lining. Once he gets his shit together, they'll be great. You know, once he gets his shit together and Jordan Mason is involved and all the players come back from injury, this team is still really good. But this is a reason why they're 3-3. Him.
Oh, what?
Slow
I mean,
start.
100%.
Yeah.
He's not playing to his best. I think we have a fundamental disagreement as to why. He's going to drop the ball. He always drops passes. Debo's
Can he drop like a few less? That's all I'm saying. Just like
2 or 3 less. Would that be helpful?
Just 2 or 3 less. Yeah.
Okay,
There was a game there's a game a few weeks ago where he had like 9 targets and 2 catches and like 4 drops. That was bad.
Yeah.
Just don't do that anymore.
That's not good. I agree.
All right. Is the 49ers Super Bowl window shrinking or expanding?
Okay, this one's interesting to me because I felt like they had to get it done really next year. That was like the end. They have through next year. Trey Lance has this year to develop. Next year's the year, and then they might have to do some rebuilding. But I think the window might be expanding, and not because something the 49ers are doing, Grant.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron Rodgers, it came out today or a couple days ago, not today, a couple days ago, that he's planning on retiring at the end of the year. So you've got Aaron Rodgers set to retire, allegedly. Tom Brady, I mean, come on. He's not playing next year. He's already not looking at his best. He's going to retire. And then let's not forget that Aaron Donald almost retired last year. If they go, I don't know, 8-9 and miss the playoffs, you think he's sticking around for that? He's probably going to call it quits too. So just by default, you've got 3 major contenders to you over the next few years that are basically pulling out of it, saying we're not good anymore. We're rebuilding. And so because of that, you could get to continue to go off and try to win Super Bowls. And the NFC is atrocious, Grant. And I don't think it's a short-term thing. This is a long-term issue, at least for the next 3-4 years. So believe it or not, I actually think the window's expanding right now. I really do.
I love your optimism. I do. So let me try to balance it out. Because, I mean, it seems to me that like 5 of the 49ers' best and highest paid players are pretty old. You got Trent Williams, who's about 34. Eric Armstead, who's getting to 30. Jimmy Ward is 31. Juszczyk's 31. Kittle's 29. I mean, if those guys are like meaningful pieces of the Niners Super Bowl window, then it's not expanding. I mean, they need to capitalize on the time with these 5 right now. Because I feel like Kittle and Armstead and in particular, and even Juszczyk aren't necessarily the players they were 2 years ago. But if you feel like those guys are negligible and you can replace them, then yeah, I mean, this Super Bowl window would probably be more, coincide with Lance and Debo and Ayuk and the younger players. And there are Bosa. There is a younger contingent on this team. But these 4 guys, Armstead, Ward, Juszczyk, and Kittle, have been on the team since 2017. Williams is older than all of them. I don't know. How important are those 5 guys?
They're important, but they're also always out of the lineup.
It's true. It's true. I mean, Armstead's already gone. Ward's been gone. Williams been. Yeah, it's true.
They're always out. So,
yeah.
I mean, just even if you have somebody that's, I don't know, 70% as good as those guys, but they're constantly there, that might be enough.
Unfortunately, no one's constantly there in the 49ers.
That's true. That's good.
I don't know
good
why.
point. Fair point.
Yeah.
Touche.
I don't know why.
Got you on that one.
I don't know why. But that's just been their pattern.
Also, I guess this expanding thing comes down to your belief in Trey Lance. And I know a lot of people have wavered or never believed in him. I think everybody knows my thoughts on Trey Lance. I'm not wavering personally. So I think that Trey Lance is going to be really good still. And so that's why I think it's expanding.
Here's why I waver. I don't know what wavering means. Here's why, like, wavering means like I'm less certain. Because Kyle blew the last 2 years straight up. Not the last 2, the first 2 years of Trey Lance's career, wasted him. And I'm a little worried about the effect that's going to have on his development. Now, if you told me that Ken Dorsey was going to be his coach next year, I'd feel a lot more bullish and optimistic. But we don't know what's going to happen. And maybe Kyle Shanahan is the perfect coach for Trey. But I have my questions about that.
Yeah, I think that's fair to question. I do question that. I agree.
Are the Niners in the driver's seat or the passenger seat for the playoffs, Jesse?
Both. Let me explain.
That's impressive. That's impressive.
I know. That was good.
Yes.
I know.
Yes.
Both. Moving on. All right. So they are in the passenger seat when it comes to the rest of the NFC, not the NFC West. They are completely in the passenger seat because they've lost to the Bears.
Oof.
They've lost to the Falcons. The tiebreakers are not in their favor when it comes to the rest of the NFC.
Yeah.
So if they're in a position where they are going for a wild card spot and they're one of the final couple teams to make it, they are absolutely in the passenger seat as it sits right now. However, they are in the driver's seat when it comes to the division. They're 2-0 in the division.
Yeah.
The division does not look good. Believe it or not, the best quarterback right now in the division is Geno frickin' Smith. Who saw that coming? So they are in the driver's seat.
And the Niners made him look just like Geno Smith when they saw him. Yep.
They are the one team that did it.
Yeah.
So they are in the driver's seat when it comes to this division, but that doesn't last long. If they start out 3-5 like last year, the difference was when they started out 3-5 last year, they had 2 games remaining versus the Rams. They could right those wrongs. If you start 3-5 this year, you're 1-on-1 with the Rams and you're done playing them. So if they figure it out or they trade for a CMC, then what happens? That's my question. Yeah,
I mean, they're in the driver's seat in the division if they can get healthy and stop getting injured. But, like, when is that going to happen? It seems like they're trying to make that happen this week. They're trying to be optimistic and hope that Bosa and Trent Williams and Jimmy Ward can all come back triumphantly. But I'm a little worried. I mean, it feels like, must-win game. They got to have these guys, and it's like, I don't know. Hopefully they don't get injured.
I don't know what's going on with Ward. That's going to be tough to play. It's not like he's going to intercept passes with a club on his hand.
But Hufanga may not play either. He's in the concussion protocol.
I know. That's
so the Niners are in a little bit of a desperate spot, and I hope they don't make bad decisions based off desperation.
Yeah, I don't think they will. I genuinely,
hope they don't.
Trent Williams got, okay, I shouldn't trust that they won't, but I don't think they will. When Trent Williams went down, I initially said right away, when they didn't put him on IR, that he'll be back in the Kansas City Chiefs game. Because they kept talking about 4 to 6 weeks and possibly a week earlier. That is exactly what they said over and over and over. So this puts them at 4 weeks. And I think if last week was a playoff game, I think Bosa would have played. But they figured, it's the Falcons. We can beat them. We're on turf. Let's wait till next week.
Here's my question. If the Niners had taken care of business last week against the Falcons and won, would Bosa, Trent Williams, Jimmy Ward be rushing back to play this week against Kansas City? The Niners were coming off 3 straight wins.
I think Trent Williams would play regardless. I don't know about the other two.
Because it should be they'd be playing regardless. If the answer is no and they're playing because they got to have this game, then that's the wrong reason. They only should be playing if they were going to play regardless is my point. And I don't know. I'm not the trainer, so hopefully they get it right. I'm just trying to say it preemptively as quality control.
What about Charvarius Ward? What's up with him?
Didn't practice today. He's a corner. You got to be real careful. Groin injury is usually multiple week injury. I'm surprised that Bosa's back. Kittle missed 2 weeks. It seems like Bosa should be missing 2 weeks too, just to be careful. But Ward, I'd be shocked if he played this game. What the Niners might do is try to have Jason Verrett come back out of nowhere. I don't know if he's ready for it, but if he is, all of a sudden this defense could be really good. So I don't know.
I think that's exactly what it sounds like they're trying to get him back. So either way, whether Ward plays, it sounds like Verrett's going to be available.
This just feels like such a desperation week. Hey, Jason, we really need you. Hey, Nick, we really need you. Hey, Trent, we really need you. Like, okay, good luck. I mean, it's just week 7. You could lose this game, win next week against the Rams, who you always beat, and be 4-4 at the bye week and regroup. And you got a real easy schedule after that. Like, to me, this is not a must-win game. And they definitely could win it, but they could lose it and lose some key players along the way because they were trying so hard. I don't know. It's football, but I'm a little nervous about the vibes.
Yeah, I think the Rams game is certainly more important. I would say
it's a division game. It's a conference game.
Yeah.
If Kyle finished under 500, will he be back in 2023? Not if I have anything to say about it. Let's see.
So yes, he will be.
I don't know, man. Jim Harbaugh is going to be there on Sunday. Let's see what he can do. All right. What would impact the 49ers more this week? A win over the Kansas City Chiefs or a loss?
I would say 100% a win, but I feel like we're disagreeing a lot today. So 99.9%.
No, I'm going to agree with you. It's a win.
Right.
I just said it, right? If they lose this game, it's not the end of the world.
It's
you can
really
win next
not.
week. You can win next week and be 4-4 and peak later in the year. But if they win this game, I mean, here's the thing. If they win this game, people are going to call them Super Bowl contenders. And that might be an overreaction because Kansas City, like, their defense is trash. Let's just put it that way. I think their defense is trash. They have a couple good players. I think they're overrated. Mahomes is great. Kelsey's great. But the rest of the team, I don't know. So the Niners could win this game and ultimately not win the Super Bowl. This is not the Buffalo Bills who they're playing, or even Philly. So I'm saying you can't get too high or too low in life.
I'm 100% with you. I also feel like if they were getting ready to play the Rams, the swagger of the fan base is, it's the same old sorry ass Rams. We're beating the Rams. We're good. But when it comes to the Chiefs, like, well, it's the Chiefs. They beat us in the Super Bowl. Patrick Mahomes. They're not confident anyways. So if they win this game, all of a sudden the confidence in this team goes
big time,
sky high.
But
if they lose, like, we kind of expected that. We'll just beat the Rams next week. No big deal. So I agree with you. I think a win 100% impacts this team way more than a loss ever could in the eyes of the fans and people around the nation.
I just want to point out that they lost last week to Buffalo. Buffalo's a great team, but they lost last week, and the week before they won by 1 point against the Raiders. So, yeah, man, I mean, this team is not a juggernaut. This team is not great. It's good, but the Niners are good when they're not bad.
I would say the bigger indictment on the Chiefs is losing to the Colts.
Raiders, they lost to the Colts.
Yeah, the Raiders are a division game. Division games can always we saw
true.
You say that, but look what happened last year against the Cardinals.
That's true. But the Raiders suck.
For sure they do. Yeah,
they for sure suck, and they were like this close.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying the Chiefs are vulnerable. They lost Tre'Davious Ward, didn't replace him, can't cover anybody. They still have Frank Clark and Chris Jones. Those guys are really good. And Kelsey's great. And Mahomes is great. It's 4 players, man. What else they got?
My bold prediction going into this season is that Kansas City wouldn't make the playoffs. I didn't realize that the rest of the AFC West would be as horrible as it was. But it's not. Kansas City's really basically the same team I thought they would be. I just thought the rest of the AFC West would be formidable. And they're not.
Yeah, the Raiders ended up being the Raiders, and the Broncos ended up being way worse. The Broncos are so bad that it's like they might be stuck with Nathaniel Hackett because who the hell wants to hitch their wagon Russell Wilson for the next season, right?
Did you see that
from
quote?
Sean Payton?
Yeah.
He said it like on the record, right?
Yeah.
Really nothing controversial about that at this point. And what's crazy is Russell Wilson wants to be Drew Brees so bad. Well, Drew Brees' coach is out.
Yeah.
Out.
No, thank you.
Jeff says Armstead over Buckner still makes my head hurt. Your heart hurt. What the Niners could have done was just trade both of them. You know, I mean, if you don't want to pay Buckner, I don't see how Armstead is worth the money. I mean, it seems to me that you really shouldn't be spending big money on defensive tackles unless it's Eric Armstead. Unless it's Aaron Donald. Unless it's Eric Armstead. Let's play the over-under game before we both have to leave.
Let's do it.
I like the over-under game.
Just so you know, I'm up 2 weeks on you, Grant. I beat you by 1 last week. We had 3. Damn. We had 3 disagreements last week, and I got 2 of them. You got 1.
So I tip my cap. You're good. You're a tough opponent.
You whooped me last year, so this is a comeback story. All right. Over or under the offense having 130.5 rushing yards for the 49ers?
Boy. That's basically asking, is Jordan Mason going to get a chance this week?
Kind of.
It kind of is, right? Because they ain't getting there without Jordan Mason.
Okay, before you answer that, before you answer that, because I don't want you to answer 2 with 1.
Yeah.
The next one is Mason and TDP. Either one of them combined, one of them, whatever, do they get over 0.5 touches combined? Mason and TDP in this game.
All right, let me go to the first one. I'm going to go under. I think Kyle isn't going to figure it out until the bye week. It's pissing me off.
Because Mitchell comes back?
He just needs to he needs a week to catch his breath and figure out what he's doing and figure out who his best players are. I think he was totally oriented into Trey Lance and he had to switch to Jimmy Garoppolo on the fly and his offense is vanilla and he needs a week to figure it out. So I think he's going to stick with Jeff Wilson. I think it's going to be under for TDP and Mason. He's going to do exactly what he's been doing the last 2 weeks and roll with Coleman and Wilson to the detriment of the offense. That's what I think. And I hope I'm wrong, man. I freaking hope I'm wrong.
Okay. I'm going to go under on
Be
both as
optimistic.
well.
Okay.
I had to make it
Yeah.
suspenseful, but no,
Yeah.
they're definitely not.
Kidding me?
What did they have, like 50 rushing yards last week?
Yeah.
That,
It seems to me that Jeff Wilson Jr. they overused him. I mean, not only did they give him a hell of carries, but those last 2 games on turf, they take your legs. They take your legs away from you. And I feel like you got those last 2 games on turf plus the jet lag. I feel like the whole team's going to be like a step slow. I mean, unless they give Jordan Mason his opportunities, they're in trouble. But the thing about the Niners is they eventually will give Jordan Mason his opportunities, and they're going to go on a run. That's going to be their saving grace this year.
they don't have to because Mitchell's coming back. Grant Mitchell will be back after the bye week, so he's still not going to get his touches unless Mitchell gets hurt.
Assuming Mitchell stays healthy. I mean,
Yeah.
Mitchell's been hurt all year. He had surgery.
sure.
He was around for training camp for like a week, and then he pulled his hamstring, and then he came back and hurt his knee. Like, he's starting to feel like Jeff Wilson from last year, you know? But we'll see. If he can get in football shape, he'd be great because he's really, really good.
Yeah, he is
okay.
very good.
We
Okay,
agree on this.
Debo over or under 9.5 touches?
He'll have 2 carries, and then he'll get 10 targets, and he'll drop 2 of them. Under.
I'm going to go over.
Okay.
I
love
think
your
this is
optimism.
the game where they
Here's where I win.
Debo's going to get a lot of touches this week. I feel like he's going to be extremely featured in this offense.
You
Okay,
better step up.
so then the question is, Ayuk and Kittle combined 10.5 touches, over or under? Did a great job last week getting him the ball, but not so much in prior weeks.
I want to say over. Over. Those guys are the ones catching the ball. Kittle and Ayuk.
Okay.
Over.
I'm going to go over as well. I think they're going to have to throw a lot because I expect them to have to come from behind in this game. So most likely a lot of throwing like last week is kind of what I see in their future. So
That's funny because if they have to do that, they're going to lose.
I didn't say they were going to win. I said they were going to have to come from behind.
They have one way to beat teams, and that's running more than passing. If they have to pass more than they run, they're probably going to lose. If they get to run more than they pass, they're like almost undefeated, practically. At least with Jimmy. So they got to find a way to control the game because their defense isn't going to shut down the Chiefs. They got to find a way to control the game with their offense. And there's a guy who wears number 24 who could help, but I don't know if they even allow him to get
They
on
don't
the
know
team
who that
play.
is. Who's
Yeah,
that?
they don't know who that is. I don't know.
Okay, over or under 1.5 turnovers for the offense?
Ooh. I'm going to say, oh, man. I'm going to say, oh, God. I want to, ooh, man. I'm going to say under. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. It's such a huge freaking game. Yeah, they're tired and they're coming back from the East Coast, but they cannot play like they played last week, and they were pretty mistake-free the weeks before that. I'm going to say under, man. Give them the benefit of the doubt. It's a veteran team. They know they got to protect the ball this week.
Yeah, I would think so.
Also, the Chiefs, I think, have given up 12 touchdown catches and intercepted 1 pass. So it's not like they have a bunch of playmakers in that secondary. They don't have Tyrann Mathieu anymore.
That's true. Honey Badger is not there, and neither is Travarius Ward. I agree with you, by the way. I was just hoping I could bait you into it. I'm going to go
You
under as
almost
well.
did. You were banking on my inherent negativity, but
Yeah.
I surprised you.
You definitely did surprise me. Okay,
Yeah.
let's go to the defensive side of the ball. Over or under 23.5 points given up?
$23.5.
23.5.
23.5. Well, how'd you get that number?
Because 24 is a pretty round number that gets scored an awful
Over.
lot.
23.5? Over.
Okay.
Seriously? What are you going to say?
I'm going to go under.
Okay. Well, I just beat you. You lost. You're done. Under 23.5. Okay.
Yeah.
Explain.
Bosa's going to play. I believe that Verrett's going to play. I actually think that both Wards are going to play. Yeah, I think they're going to go under. The defense is going to be fine. in this game. I actually think the defense is going to play pretty well this game.
You think
I
so?
do. Yeah.
I think they're going to give up more than 30.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Dang, so you're saying I could have stretched this to like 26.5 and you would have still taken the
You
over?
could have said 33.5. I would have said. You could have said 37.5. I would have said over. I don't know,
Dang.
man. I don't think Travarius Ward's going to play. I'm not certain that Jimmy Ward's going to play. And even if Ward does play, I mean, how good's he going to be? How good is Bosa going to be? Is he going to be explosive? Or is he going to be like, I don't know. I'm a little nervous. This is a team that can score very quickly, the Chiefs.
They can.
And the Niners are like the most methodical offense in the history of the world.
We've seen him score in, I don't know, 13 seconds and 12 seconds against the Bills twice now. It's pretty crazy. Okay.
The Niners had a minute and 7 to score something at the end of the last week, and they didn't score anything. But
Did you see Josh Allen take the Buffalo Bills 99 yards in like 77 seconds to score a touchdown?
see, that's my thing with Kyle and his offense is like complementary offense. You're never going to win a Super Bowl. Like, you tried to beat the Chiefs that way in the Super Bowl, but what they did was score 21 points in the fourth quarter. They can do that. You know, you go up against these great teams in the Super Bowl that have these quick strike abilities, and you can't do that, you're going to lose. So either Kyle has to add that element to the team in the next couple of years with Trey Lance and Danny Gray or whatever, or they got to find someone who can, and they do it in Buffalo. I'm just saying, there's a guy over there he went to Miramani High School. You don't know about that, but it's right over here. He's a Bay Area kid. He might just want to come. He played for the Niners.
Listen, I don't
All right,
ever
next
get my hopes up like that. Come on. Okay. Over or under 260.5 passing yards given up?
Over. Dude, Diamador Lenore, get ready. Get ready. You have no... Oh, man. Yeah, no, over. This is... No. Over. I don't have high hopes for the defense this week. This is a tough matchup. Yeah.
It is. It is very tough.
Yeah. This is a tough matchup. Yeah.
Okay. Over or under 2.5 sacks by the defense?
Over. I think the Chiefs are going to pass a lot and give them opportunities.
Their offensive line has not been good.
No.
And
Their team is not that good. But they
their
do
offense
score.
is good, though.
Yeah, I mean, they can score. Mahomes is that good. And when you have that kind of a quarterback and you're going to get up against Jimmy Garoppolo, it's fair to bet on the guy with Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a fair bet. Yeah. I'm definitely leaning the other way. I agree.
Yeah.
Okay. Last one. Over or under 0.5 turnovers forced.
I'm thinking under.
Okay.
And here's why. I think the reason the Niners, I could be wrong. I mean, they're fluky, but I think the Niners were forcing turnovers by being elite in all three levels of their defense. I mean, 2 elite corners. There were no weaknesses, and they were forcing like coverage sacks. And I just feel like there are completions. The last quarterback just went 13 of 14. You know, the Niners are all of a sudden, instead of being in your face and contesting every catch, are like playing very conservative. Like, hey, we're playing backup DB. So I don't know. I'm saying under. Also, I don't even know if Hufunga's going to play it. He's their playmaker.
Yeah, Hufanga being out makes it really tough.
Yeah.
I think Mahomes,
say over. Take it.
I am taking over.
Taking it. There you go.
Grant, I'm playing with house money this week.
That's
I'm
right.
I'm letting it all hang out. I got house money. I'm up 2 weeks. What's a week? I can give up a week to you. Come on.
That's a good point. That's a really good point. I'm the one over here that needs to like take risks and make up ground because I'm losing.
See, you're playing the Kyle Shanahan route, and I'm just going. I'm playing it risky over here.
E-Money says Kyle equals Fredo. Harbaugh would develop Trey, play Mason. See, that's the thing, man. I love that. You know, Kyle loses, and everyone's like, man, I miss Harbaugh. Harbaugh had his own issues. But all of a sudden, like, he could do no wrong. And if he were here, I don't know. Could Harbaugh win a Super Bowl with this roster? Don't know. He's never won a Super Bowl. He had some good rosters, and he couldn't get it done.
Yeah, maybe not.
Thank you, Big Mix. Appreciate you, man. Ramon Clark says this game has to mirror the Saints game in 2019. No run game or defense, just a lucky air attack. Yeah, and again, the Chiefs can't stop the pass. They got 2 good pass rushers. They got no one in their secondary. You can throw in the Chiefs. You can. And You have to, but at the same time, the Niners can't win if they throw too much. So it's like pick your spots, but control the game with your run game if you want to win.
Yeah,
one more. Yeah, it's tough. Is it a coincidence that Fangio is a consultant? He's likely waiting for D'Amico to become a head coach next year and Harbaugh to take over. Lance is his cap. Harbaugh to take over. I mean, I do get the feeling that the Niners have Fangio lined up if and when Ryans leaves. I do get that feeling. I do.
I have that feeling as well. Right now, it's interesting because the defense in the league has made a shift. It was a lot of single high safety. Right now, it's a lot of two high safety. It's a lot of cover six, which Fangio runs.
It's all Fangio stuff. Yes,
they're basically running a hybrid of Saleh and Fangio's defense, and so Fangio's a consultant. I think for two reasons: one, to help them because they asked for the help, and two, if he is going to take over the defense next year, probably want to have some of those things implemented and ready to go so that they're not learning a whole new system. So I think it bodes well for him if he does take over.
Yep. I say Ken Dorsey and Vic Fangio in 2023. Just kidding. Let's see what let's see what happens the rest of the year. All I'm saying is when you watch Kyle this year and evaluate him, also evaluate the guy in Buffalo. Keep in mind, think like Jed. You're not wedded to this guy. You got options. And you want what's best for the team, not what's best for Kyle. So just keep that in mind. Compare them. Currently, the dude in Buffalo has the number one offense in the league and the number one quarterback in the league. It's good. And he developed him. Other than that, he's got some. He's only been an OC for 6 games. Let's see what happens. And the one time he lost, he destroyed his office, which was
he did. That was insane. And he played quarterback, so he knows what it's like in this league.
That's true.
He's going to be a head coach.
That.
He's going to be a head coach next year, I think. And Shanahan's not getting fired this year, so I think that pipe dream's gone. I think that's where Kafka can come in 2023 if Shanahan blows it.
No one said fire. No one ever said fire Kyle.
Trade.
But if you feel like you could get someone better and you need some trade capital, man, I got an idea. Just saying. First.
Quality control. Anyway, doing his best work.
Dave Barclay says, hey guys, I watched everything since game, but this is my first live catch since Sunday. Okay, why does it seem like Kyle puts together his plays, but when it's not working, he can't change from whatever he set up for that day? I don't know, man, but it doesn't speak well. I feel like the best offensive coaches are the ones that adjust. And if you've been watching Brian Daboll in New York, his offense isn't great. He has no weapons, but his offense gets better as the game goes on. It's fun to watch. You can see him adjusting and figuring out what's working, what's not, and going into the stuff that's working, leaning into it.
49ers are ranked 26th in the league in second half scoring.
Is that good?
No.
Does Jed have the cojones to move on from Kyle in 23? You think no. I really think this Sunday is going to be interesting, man. This is going to be the fan base's first opportunity to tell Jed how they feel. If they lose and Harbaugh's there and Kyle's there, the fans can make their feelings quite well known. Now, the Niners might win this game, but I'm very curious. I feel like this Sunday is a big week, a big day for Kyle. You got Jim in the house, man, and like, ooh, I wouldn't like that, I feel vulnerable.
Yeah.
At my weakest, right where I'm going to fall to 3-4 potentially for the season. You got Jim over here, like smiling and kissing babies. Like, nah, I don't want that at all. Better win this week, Kyle. Hey, Nick Bosa, I need you, buddy.
I don't know if you caught this, Grant, but I guess I'm blocked, so somebody showed me the article, but I guess Kawakami wrote an article about Shanahan probably feeling like this is not, like, basically what you're saying, like, this isn't good. I've got this guy now here. This is not a good week for this. And Shanahan texted him, I guess, and said, no, I don't have an issue with him being
of
here.
Course. Hey, you have to, you got to play it. You can't act like you're threatened, but
yeah,
I'm telling you, Harbaugh's going to get cheered like he's never been cheered before. And Kyle's going to get booed hard if he loses this game. And Jed's going to be there watching the whole thing. And Harbaugh's going to understand what's at stake, and so will Kyle. And so will everyone. And it's going to be really dramatic like that week when everyone was yelling, "We want Carr," back with Alex. I mean, it's going to be legendary if it goes down like this. And I hope it will, because I love drama. Love it.
I feel like going out of your way to text him that tells me that you are a little perturbed by it.
I mean, if I were Kyle, part of me wanting to go to Jed and say, this can't happen. But the other part of me is like, no, I can't show weakness. I can't let him know that it bothers me. But it does. I'm weak. I'm going to lose. My whole team's hurt. Why are you doing this to me, man? If Harbaugh was the coach, he could develop Lance like Luck. I mean, that's why the Niners hired Harbaugh, right? I mean, part of the allure with Harbaugh back in 2011 was that he developed Andrew Luck. He was the quarterback whisperer. Kyle is not a quarterback whisperer. He's the guy that gets in the quarterback's ear and just yells at him. Throw your first word! That's Kyle. The opposite of the quarterback whisperer. Grant, you know my opinion. Mason should play. Kyle should be fired regardless of what happens next. He doesn't care about the fan base or winning. He acts as if he's superior to everyone. Get the F out. Please bring back Harbaugh. Well, he's coming back Sunday, man.
That's the protect the team mentality. I'm telling you, fans don't like that.
Can you give Jed's email publicly? Hell no. And I don't know it. Yo, I gotta go.
I will give you guys a trick. Actually, DM me. I'll give you a trick. I can tell you how to find it.
There is a trick, but I don't want to do it. DM him.
Yeah.
E-Money says, is Tom Sula, a.k.a. Ron Jeremy, performing at halftime? Here's the thing. Okay, so okay, hold on. Here's why Kyle's in a bad spot, okay? So Kyle's 3-3, looking at 3-4, okay? Harbaugh's undefeated in Michigan right now. Chip Kelly, undefeated at UCLA right now. Tom Sula went 7-5 as the head coach of the Rhine Fire this year in the NFL Europe. So Kyle, you might want to have a winning record this year. That's all I'm saying. Because all your predecessors are, well, two of them are killing it. One of them is, getting by. Vac29 says, would the next coach want Brady next season to win a Super Bowl and want Trey sitting again so the Super Bowl win buys the new coach unlimited time to develop Lance? I feel like the next coach wouldn't be dumb enough to say no to Tom Brady, although Tom's kind of making himself look bad this year. So we'll have to see what happens. He's looking like he's a little checked out on football. He's not as laser focused as he was in the past, taking days off, going to birthday parties and stuff.
Yeah, I think Brady's done for. I think he made a mistake coming back, and I think he's regretting it. I personally think he's regretting it a little bit.
He's like, this is like military deployment. Like, no, it's not. Quit. You can quit right now.
It's not that hard.
Anyway, I think our show is over. Jesse, what you got going on the rest of the night?
I actually don't have anything. I had to move behind enemy lines till tomorrow night, so stay tuned for that. That's where I have a Chiefs content creator on, and we get to learn all about our opponent this week. So I think that'll be a lot of fun.
That's cool. Thanks for watching. Twisted Clown says, Kyle whispered to Trey up the A-gap. That is funny. That is funny. Stop giving me money. The show is over. I'll be back tomorrow. Until then, thank you very much for watching and have a great night.